called you together because we as Black pastors, elders, community leaders, activists support these proposed 5 Black majority voting districts that have been proposed. And Adam Bello, our county executive, recently had a press conference where he said that the only people who benefit from these 5 majority Black voting districts were the legislators who support them. And we are here to prove him wrong. The Black community benefits from these 5 Black majority voting districts. And so we're here with a message, as my friends here have joined me, Pastor Cox, Bishop Jeffrey Melvin, Elder Hanif, Pastor Cynthia Anderson, Minister Damon Wilson, and many out in the audience here from our community. The Faith Leaders Roundtable is represented here. Spiritus Christi, our anti-racism coalition, is represented here. The Black Agenda Group is represented here. And so we have a message that we want to send to our community and to Adam Bello and the Democrats who are in opposition with him. As a pastor, I have spent 17 years working in the Rochester community to dismantle systemic racism in order that we might impoverished areas with overcrowding without improvement, while offering little support with lack of proportionate political representation that could have changed these conditions. So we add our collective voices today to demand that in accordance to the law, that Adam Bello support the full and equal representation to the Black community through the proposed Crescent Map led by President Sabrina Lamar. And we have 5 points we want to make, and I'm going to ask Minister Damon to come up to share these points with me. I'll do the first 3, and then he'll close in the last 2. We support the map that creates 5 Black majority voting districts that are at least 50% Black that will enfranchise the collective Black community. Black voting rights are under attack from across our country, where Black voters are being opposed for what they are legally and constitutionally entitled to. We want to be enfranchised in Rochester with the proposed 5 Black majority voting districts. They are, according to the census and the fact that they passed the Gingell's standards test, Black communities are legally entitled to have their own specific minority electoral district. And this district isn't called effective Black districts, it's called the Black majority voting district. And it will give proportionality and freedom to choose our own candidate of choice without the pressure of coalition voting within a majority-minority district. Free the Black vote. Number 2, we support centering Black voices in the dilemma that has plagued our city. All across America, white voices are attempting to drown out Black voices that are speaking about our reality and our legal right to enfranchisement. White voices that are not suffering from disenfranchisement are coming in to tell Black voters what they need by presenting themselves as experts to decide what Black voters are entitled to, manipulating voting data, ignoring the census, suggesting something other than what Black voters are rightly entitled to is a violation of our civil rights. Muting of Black voices and centering white dominant culture voices are a product of systemic racism, and we urge our county executive to stop this practice. The Democratic Party, up until now, has always been seen as an allied party to Black voters and voters of color communities, protecting our constitutional rights. Well, we urge them to return to that practice and return now. Third, we support the call of the collective Black community for Democrats to stop being obstructionists who abandon Black voter justice. While we understand the reality of Black anxiety that can cause white voter fear and trigger historical animosity and division, even between people of color groups, we urge Adam Bello and the Democrats of opposition to resist this anxiety and enfranchise the collective Black community by your support of 5 majority Black voting districts of the Crescent Map. Abandoning Black voting community, the Black voting community brings back a painful memory of the Dixiecrats of the South versus the newly freed enslaved Black citizens who were seeking political rights, representation, and enfranchisement. Do not re-injure the Black collective community in these dark historic days. We believe that we can be better than this. We need Adam Bello and the Democrats of opposition to prove us right. Support the Crescent Map and allow the collective Black community proportionate representation based on the census and Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. I'm going to have Damon Wilson finish these last two.
Right.
Free the Black vote.
Free the Black vote. Amen. Fourth, we urge you to join your Republican colleagues in the state legislature by voting for the Black collective enfranchisement within our city and county. While Republicans across the country have traditionally targeted Black voters to block enfranchisement in urban areas, Monroe County Republicans have it right. They have departed from the norm in practice, and they are willing to enfranchise the Black vote here in the county of county of Monroe. They have chosen to hear the call to support proportionate representation for Black Monroe County voters in the city of Rochester. Instead of infighting and stirring and suspicion, distancing themselves from justice, they are working together with legislatures like Rachel Barnhart and President Sabrina Lamar to go against what the county exec and the Democrats are doing in Monroe County. Our Black citizens have been historically packed in the Crescent by the white dominant power structure via discriminatory practices of our not distant past. Now the power structure is being given an opportunity to redress these evils, but historically they're deciding not to. So we are urging them, we are demanding that they create and support these 5 Black majority voting districts. We don't need to hire redistricting publicists or bring new legal representation to legitimize or discrimination against the Black vote. What we need is their vote for what has already been established. We simply urge them to support the Crescent Map, giving Black voters what is their due. Free the Black vote. And finally, we urge them to stop confusing voters by using the term 6 is better than 5. As our county executive and the Democratic opposition attempts to confuse voters by saying 6 is better than 5, we recognize that what they are really calling for are minority coalition districts, which are not the 5 black voting districts that we're asking for. The 6 effective black majority minority districts, as they call them, leaves black voters unjustly in multiplex minority voting group, where they are forced to vote in coalition with other minorities who, by the way, might not vote the same way that we do, just FYI, and they're not willing to fight to select the candidates of their choice. They are entitled to much more. You can give them more by supporting the Crescent map, and this map is the map that we support. So we strongly urge Bello to support it, because supporting this map leaves 24 white majority districts as we do the real math, and we know that 24 is a lot more than 5. Giving us 5 districts is a long way from enfranchising the black community, as we compare to how these different plans have been coming across. But we know that with the 5 black majority voting districts, it is a good start. So free the black vote and give the black community its 5 black majority voting districts. And as I prepare to take my seat, I would be remiss if I did not raise someone who is near and dear to every Rochesterian's heart, and that's the good Frederick Douglass, who said, "The life of the nation is secure only while the nation is honest, truthful, and virtuous." Wow. So what we're asking is for our legislators to be honest, truthful, and virtuous, because we know that the rhetoric that has been said thus far is anything but honest, truthful, and virtuous. Thank you.
I'd like to invite Bishop Jeffrey Melvin to the podium.
Good evening. I don't think there's much more that I can say than has been said by Reverend Brown and DeMond. I'm just concerned about this Democrat on Democrat discrimination. I think this has been happening for far too long. It goes back a long way in this city, and I think that it's time for us to stop fighting Democrats against Democrats, with you telling us what's the best way to take care of our people. Listen to the people who live in those districts and who serve in those districts, and they'll tell you what's best for those districts. Well, this is really no different than what happened during white flight in the 70s with redlining. That was banking redlining. This is political redlining. This is what it is. It is political redlining, where you're meandering the districts to make it serve your own political purpose, but it is not helping the people at all. Not helping the people who live there. Reverend Brown was right. We understand what's happening in the Crescent. We know that 90% of the crime happens in 10% of Rochester, but that's the crime that's happening in the city. We should not have a crime down on Main Street at the legislative building, amen, with the way you are taking these districts and cutting them up and cutting people out of their vote. We want you to free the black vote. Free the black vote. I'm going to sit down, but I just think that it's astounding that 50 plus years after the death of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, that we're still having to fight this fight. We're still having to fight. And the thing about it is, we're having to fight it not against the Republicans, but against our own Democrats. This is confusing. I am confused. It used to be we had to fight against the conservatism of the Republicans, and we knew where the enemies were. We knew where. Now the enemies are in our own bed. The enemies among us. So I'm asking those of you that are in power in the Democratic Party, do the right thing. Why do we have to go across the aisle to get fairness? Why do we have to go across the aisle to the Republican side of the aisle? Because they are being more fair to people in the city, black and brown people, than the people that are supposed to be representing us. We need to stop this foolishness and start doing the right thing.
Now I'd like to call Elder Hanif up, and then followed by him, Pastor Cox.
Good evening, everyone, and assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. This redistricting issue is going to come up every 10 years. And the reason that it comes up, because the demographics in these districts, they change drastically. And we had a bipartisan legislative group that was put together to take this on. And what they found out through the Voter Rights Act, to where this vote doesn't get disillusioned, is that the best way to go about having disenfranchisement of the vote is to come up with the 5 district votes. The 5 district votes. Is it 5 districts? We want 5. No, we want 5. Excuse me, I'm not confused here. But the 6 is illegal. The 6 is illegal. And you're going to tie up taxpayers' dollars, try to take us to court, and you know that the courts are going to send you right back and say that your legislative body, you understand, has to work this out. And there's no other negotiation than the one that has been had. You had folks that went and drew up these districts, drew them up in good faith, and then go have a backdoor meeting and recant what they say. We can't have this. This is not a thing for us. And what it is the plot, once again, to divide us as a community. That's all that it is. It's a stall. And we're just asking that the county exec, come Tuesday, when this passed, is not to veto this here. Because we'll have to remember this here. And the way that we remember it, we know that we have to do better in getting our folks in the polls to vote. We understand that. We know that that's a challenge in our community, and we understand why that there's apathy in voting. It's mainly because we've been packed in a couple of districts, right? And we don't see the change that we want to see. But I believe that we will be free and much freer to see more change, more economic development, more of us coming together to try to work out the problems that we have in our city if and when on Tuesday this 5 district voting district pass. That's what we want. Right. Friday at 5 p.m.? Well, I'm declaring that it's going to happen on Tuesday. But I do want to say this here, is that don't go for the trick of us being divided. There has to come a time where we're going to collectively have to come together and agree. And it's this right here. If we want more people to come to the polls, and we know that we need this here. We can't afford to have 13 to 14% of the people just come out and vote, and we say, hey, that's a day. They would love to keep it that way. But if you free up these districts, I think you're going to see better voter turnout, and I think you're going to see a better spirit in us of what that vote means. So in 1965, the Voting Rights Act protects this, what we're talking about right here. I was 12 years old at that time. And this is the first time in this country that black folks had the full right of citizenship when the Voting Rights Act was passed. Yeah. So I seen this in my time, right? And we still have racism, you understand, to challenge these laws and policies. It shouldn't be that way. Not at all. We don't have to get upset at the county executive or anybody else. Just follow the law. You follow the rule of law, because this is what the ancestors fought for. If we could just follow the rule of law, we will lift ourselves up. So I want to see us. I want to see us on Friday, and I want us to go and talk with our neighbors and folks and get them to see that we're not trying to have division in our community. Right. We just want people to follow the law. You just follow the law. Yes, follow the law. 6 is illegal. You go and hire a consultant to take us into court somewhere, and the courts, all they're going to do is just say, hey, you got to go back and solve that. What's wrong with the 5 districts? This satisfies the rule of law according to the Voting Rights Act. Right, doesn't it? Yeah. So with that, and I'll leave the stage here. I'm impressed by us coming out tonight, and I want to thank Robin Wilt, Rachel Barnhart, Reverend Myra Brown, and all of the leaders that are out on this issue right here. But I want to declare that the Greater Rochester Black Agenda Group endorses the 5 districts in terms of us standing behind it, and it's based upon the law, and it's based upon what is right here for Rochester. Thank you.
I am going to be brief. First of all, on behalf of the Roundtable, the Faith Leadership Roundtable, we support the 5 black voting districts. We stand united, unlike the Democratic Party right now, which is really embarrassing. And I want to say this to you, Mr. Adam Bello. It was the black vote that brought you in. And it seems as though that has been forgotten, and that is a thought of yours that is far behind you now. But we have to go to the polls again. And you got to understand, we will go, and we will go in droves. No matter how much you try to deny these 5 black voting districts, they belong to the black vote. There has been enough taken away from the black vote for years, and we will no longer tolerate it. And we will not allow this city to be embarrassed by in-house fighting only because the black vote deserves what it is owed. It almost seems as though we're going back to the Jim Crow law days. And we're not here for that. We're not here for that, and we won't stand for it. And to have our own Democrat Party embarrass us in this manner, free the black vote. Free the black vote, and stop being an embarrassment to the city of Rochester, New York.
Our final speaker will be Dr. Cynthia Anderson, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Greetings, everyone. I pray that you all are well today. Thank you for allowing me to speak on the behalf of the Black vote. I am Pastor Cynthia Renee Rump Anderson of the Greater Faith Hope Center. I am part of the Faith Leaders Roundtable, and I stand before you today with the pastors in our city that breathe the same breath. On this situation, we fully understand that we are deep in controversy over redrawing of districts representing some portions of Rochester. I request one thing, County Executive Adam Bello, and that is for you to hear the hearts of those that are crying desperately for overdue justice in every area in our city. We can't afford to miss this powerful moment to emerge. We came today to seize the moment to move forward in justice and not be held hostage to people's opinions. This city has faced one of the greatest assaults where we are being challenged on our voting rights, while the powers that be are backpedaling. We won't tolerate injustice. We call for you to free the Black vote. Our Black vote would not be incarcerated. We ask you to support our Black voting rights. We are in this fight to win for no other reason but to win because it's our right. It's ethical and it's the moral proper thing to do. It is safe to say we are justly due our 5 Black majority voting districts and not be imprisoned by the 6 minority majority districts. They want our Black vote diluted. Right. And we say no more, no sir, and no ma'am. We want to increase our representation by creating these 5 Black majority voting districts. Again, it is within our legal rights to do this. Those that want to challenge and reject our rights, we call you to the table to answer these questions. Are you for justice and our rights? Are you for injustice and what you deem is best for you and your party? Adam Bello, our great county executive. This is for the city of Rochester's best interest, in which you have an oath to safeguard. Therefore, you can't afford to reject the map and veto it because it's an injustice and it will leave us in grave harm. We came today to apply some moral pressure that you would reevaluate what is being asked of you by the county's Democratic caucus. Please reject the very thought of a veto that will harm us tax-paying citizens and Black residents. We urge your approval of what best suits and benefits us Black people. We ask you to move into real time and give us what we deserve. Free the Black vote. We have already passed the test. All the preconditions of the Jingles test, we have met the standards that qualify us to denounce this racist system that prevents increased voters' representation. This gives us full access and warrants a redrawing of the map that includes 5 Black majority districts. We ask you, sir, give us our increased voting power. Put it back in the hands of us, that are entitled to it, black voters. Don't use the Latino community to hold us hostage to this racist system. We deserve nothing less than to be safeguarded by our leaders. And I need you to hear me, that we elected and trusted. We have one voice, and that is a cry saying, help enfranchise the black vote. Pastor Cynthia Anderson.
Now we'd like to open it up. If you have questions that you'd like to ask any of our speakers tonight, it is very clear that we are here calling on having the black vote freed so that we are not incarcerated in these 6 majority minority districts. Free the black vote. Free the black vote. Free the black vote. Free the black vote.